Alright, so this is part 2 of the video, and I'm going to show you 3 range trips. So the first 2 range trips, we'll clarify this first. I was using this Vortex scope. I was using the same mount. This is a PST 3 to 15. Not really a good scope for shooting groups at 100 yards in my opinion, or at least with my eyes. It's kind of hard to see with the reticle. And I thought it would do better, so I put a target scope on it for the 3rd range trip. And it's just an older scope that I have on there, but at least we'll clarify that. And most of these groups were shot at 100 yards, so I'll point out the first one that wasn't. So here we go. Try to document this a little bit as best I can. So trip 1, we're doing a lot of shoot clean, shoot clean, shoot clean. First group that I shot, it was with a clean barrel, so I did have one flyer from the group. But this was a sighter shot, and then I shot 1, and then shot 2, jumped over here, which I kind of expect that with a clean barrel. Usually on the first shot, but anyway, the second shot kind of jumped out of the group, and this was only at 50 yards. So that's a good looking 3 to 5, 1, and then 3 and 5 all basically went through a really tight, maybe a 1/4 inch group. And then what I did was I moved back to 100 yards, and I had some generic hand loads that I've used in another one of my rifles. And you can see some of the groups that I got with it. So 1.4, 1.39, 1.64. And so these were generic 69 grain hand loads. And then here I've got it where I made a couple of generic with 22 grains of Hodgdon 4895, and I was using a 77 grain Sierra Match King. So 0.94 3-shot group here, and a 1.64 5-shot group on this one. And then my final shot of the my final group of the day is getting hard to see. I made note of that, and it was a 0.55. So range session 2, I started out just burning some rounds, and I shot about 10 of bulk ammo. There were 3 or 4 different brands and types, so I will point that out, but this is not really indicative of what the rifle can shoot. Then I shot some hand loads, so I got a 4-shot 1.7, and notice there's a lot of diagonal in this group here. And that's kind of what opened up this group here. So this is another hand load that I put together, and it was 1.05 inches. And then some more hand loads, 1.1, 1.14. Started to shoot a group here. I'd already had a 5-shot group here, and I decided to just put the rest of the other 4 rounds. So I have 9 rounds in here. And at 100 yards, they came in at 1.55. Then my best group of the day was this one, and this is probably the best 5-shot group I've shot at 100 yards with this rifle, and that was a 0.7 inch 5-shot group. So I was happy with that, and again, it was the last group of the day. By range session 3, I'd gotten in all new reloading components. And one thing I did different with the rifle, listen, so you can hear some play between the upper and lower, and in all fairness, there is a spring-loaded tension screw that the rifle comes with to take up that play, but it's just a single spring-loaded pin, so it's putting pressure from the lower to the upper. So what I did was I took that out, and I bought this little piece of plastic here. It's called an accu-wedge. Honestly, when you see the groups that I'm going to show you, it's hard to say that this made a difference. So it did take the play out of the upper and lower, and I did notice a difference in that. But in all fairness, there's not a whole lot of play between the upper and lower, but there is some noticeable play. But when you put this little thing in, it's $2. It did make a difference in the rifle. Also, I switched it to a target scope, so this has a fine crosshair on it. And I was shooting off of a bipod for the last one too. So I made quite a few changes between range trips 1 and 2, and then range trip 3. So with range trip 3, I also took some match loads. It was a Fiocchi, I think it's the brand name, and I don't have the box here, but it was their exacta match with the 77 grain Sierra Match King bullets. So this is my setup. I'm going to show you before I leave the range. And there's the target downrange at 100 yards. Range trip number 3. You can see how I shot the groups in different orders from here, here, and finally the last group here. So the rifle really didn't get a lot of time to cool down. All the groups held together pretty good. I was definitely a lot more pleased with the rifle with the third range session. So if you include all 6 groups in an average, these 2 being factory ammo that I shot out of it, we're getting right at a 3/4 MOA. So 0.755 is what I came up with on the average out of the 6 groups. And then out of my hand loads, which this was just testing different charge weights. So it's not like I have one optimal charge weight yet, but testing, let's see, 4 different charge weights, and the average came up of 0.611. So overall, a lot more pleased. I'll do a follow-up video when I get a chance to go back to the range. I wish I had data from the chronograph, and that's originally what this was intended. It was not to go out and shoot 3-shot groups. It was to get some data over a chronograph in a quick range session. But the chronograph read absolutely none of the shots because the lighting was bad. So I'm going to buy a different chronograph and go back to the range. We're going to retest all of this, and I'll probably do a video with some reloading and show y'all how that goes. So thanks for watching.